to another episode of Business Series with Bolanle. And today I have with me one of my friends again, Oluwaseun Okugboye. Sean is actually, when it comes to business, Sean is one of my favorite people because the way he thinks, oh my God. Sean has spent the last 5-6 years managing operations of multiple organizations across various industries. And one of my favorite is global, amazing people, at least they allow us to eat what we want and all of that. But then I'll let Sean do the honors of introducing himself to you guys. So Sean, over to you. Thank you for coming by the way.
Yeah, thanks for having me. And yeah, I've been building operations. I don't
Try
really
to
like
be humble. Don't try to be humble.
I don't really like to go in depth into that because that's like a big conversation on its own because people don't really understand what operations is. But basically, I've spent my last 5-6 years problem solving, getting things to work, scaling, and getting the most important thing that every business owner wants, getting more revenue by optimizing the business, ensuring we are projecting the goal the business says is going to do, and all of those things. And I think one of the good things is I've also been lucky to gather this experience in different countries with different people with different minds, which starts to build more perspective of how things really could be. So it's been an interesting 5-6 years. Yeah.
Let me first of all see. You guys can tell how giddy I am to have Sean here. I won't even lie. When it comes to business, Sean is one of the people like I like to hear talk about stuff because I know that he's not just bluffing. He knows his stuff. Beyond just textbook knowledge, he has handled this thing, he has practiced this things, and iterations here and there, and he's been able to like come to this point. So I'm really excited about this episode actually. So given the peculiarity of our economic landscape, you find it is really sad that an average SME has like a timeline of 3 to 5 years to actually drop off. And someone can say, oh, it's just numbers, but then we can see it is well documented through facts and data that 80% of SMEs actually drop off between 3 to 5 years. And if you ask me, one of the things that I think kills them more than even generating revenue, I think is operations because of the infrastructure issues and all of that we have. But then the challenge I now have is that it has gone beyond we not having infrastructure issue. We don't even know how to put infrastructure in place. And for businesses, it means putting basic business structure to be able to run effectively. So I want you to, seeing that you are the operations guru, I think we should start by talking about how important having the right process and structure is in building a sustainable business.
Yeah. So like you said, without structure, you have like less chance of succeeding at whatever it is you're doing. And it cut across a lot of things. Now, there are two most important things I try to tell people before we even start to talk about operations, which is, why are you doing what you're doing? Like, that is a very important question. I would not advise you to build structure into anything if what you're doing at that moment is just a means to an end. You don't have
Like
a
survival.
big goal, like you're surviving from it. Maybe you're in a school, you're starting one small business, and maybe in the next 3-4 months, maybe you'd have to stop it because structure is expensive in terms of not just money, in terms of consistency, things you're going to put in place and all of those things. Now, another big mistake people do in Nigeria especially is the fact that building business is in two ways: product or service, whichever it is you're building. You have to know the counterparts in terms of infrastructure that you need to get that thing running. Now you have to now know that, okay, I need this level of infrastructure. Do I have it in place? If I don't have it, how can I make it work? If not, you're going to end up building a business that brilliant idea, brilliant product, brilliant service, but you get to a point where you can't just move on. And one of the things I'm going to do a lot here is I'm going to give like examples of real life scenarios and all of those things.
So sorry to cut you. Something you said really caught my attention. So I was reading, I can't remember the name of the book now, and there was a line that I read this book last year, but it keeps ringing in my head. Is that scale builds on skill, and what that means is whatever new solution that you're trying to implement or in a new level of skill, that there has to be like a level of infrastructure that you have to have already. Let me give perspective to it. You want to start a distribution business, global for example. If the logistics channel and general road network in Nigeria is bad, it will be difficult, even though the global idea is great, it will be difficult for us to leverage it. And I feel like this is one of the things that kills some new technology
Yeah,
business that we have.
exactly.
I know that we're talking about SMEs, but I think that's because you don't think in the long run what is the basic infrastructural need
Yeah,
for this business to actually thrive. So
exactly.
you are so fascinated about the fancy idea that you
Yeah,
have, then when you've now implemented, maybe you do it in Lagos, it's fine, but you're now thinking that we need to be able to assess the actual numbers. Then
yeah,
you now realize that there is no infrastructure to take this
yeah.
further.
Honestly, if you've done it in Lagos, you've won.
Because actually the population is
Yeah,
something.
because Lagos is like the toughest place to work. I think I was reading a stat and I was not sure, but one of the top ride-hailing company in Nigeria was getting about 40 to 60% of its West African revenue from
From
just Lagos.
Lagos.
So it tells you,
Lagos City.
yeah.
Even now
So
they try.
so it just tells you like if you act Lagos, all of those things. And just echoing what you said and what I said earlier is the fact that you have the idea, oh my God, I want to get this done. And you forget the fact that you need light, you need road, you need people to get this thing done. You think, okay, we're gonna build the tech and all of those things. The tech can sell itself. What is the customer psychology? Like, do people know, who do I know that I can bring on board that understand these customers that could sell this thing to these customers and all of those things? But you don't look at all of those parts. You build the business, then it gets to the point where you need to start generating revenue. Or you think like, okay, this is a very brilliant idea, but you've not figured out, the right operations person that can hack that system to get it done. It even happens to a lot of foreign companies. They bring foreigners, where they have good system and all of those things. That's why the same stats, if you look at Kenya, for instance, I think maybe 2020, just about 24% of, at that time, just 24% of their SMEs were failing in 5 years. Because
Wow.
if you go to that country, you compare, you'd see like, the major difference. Let me give one example. Everybody's talking about money points now, and everybody's shouting about what they've done and all of those things. But how would you say that, because it's very contradictory, that you want to sell something and say, I think that people would collect money more from people than from banks. Imagine you going to an investor, a foreign investor, and saying, I want to build a system where people collect money from people and not go to banks. They would look like you guys are crazy because their system, you can easily, is cashless. What do you even need a lot of money from? Why will I invest in building something like that and all of those things? And guess what? When you ask a lot of people, when was the last time you went to bank to actually withdraw?
I can't remember. I don't think I've used it. Now bank is even far-fetched. And like an ATM
Yeah.
itself. I was telling, who was I telling? Like, I don't think I've used one in like 2 years.
Yeah. And guess what? It started somewhere. Someone started one POS business, someone started something and all of those things. But let me tell you the beauty behind it. There is the crazy level of operationally built agency banking, building people banking. People, the process people have to go through every day, ensure they have the money, ensure they have the right things, ensure they are placed in the right locations to get that done. And the company keeps doing that. But guess what? When Money Point started doing this and other complaints in the fintech space started seeing what Money Points could achieve or what they were already achieving, some of them tried to, delve into it, one of which was Paystack. Paystack wanted to like, okay, let's also distribute and let's see how this is going to work. But guess what? They had the brilliant idea, but they didn't have the operational strength that this other person had. Then at the end of the day, it didn't work. How would you say a company as strong as Paystack could not even get that to work? It was because a lot of structure was not built based on the infrastructural strength they had. Guess what they did? They went to start pasting, scan to pay, Paystack, all of those things instead of, because that was the strength and all of those things. So for you to build your structure, which is the most important thing, in the beginning, yes, you might not know what to build because even you don't know what your product would be like and all of those things. But you see, from the moment you've decided that in the next 5 years, in the next 6 years, I want to really make crazy money from these things, you need to start thinking of structures. And you need to start thinking of, the elements, the things you need to bring into the structure, that makes it work. And one of the first thing, which is the most important thing you need to get any operations to work, especially in Nigeria, is the human capital.
Talent is headache. See the way my energy just went down when you came to talent.
Yeah, and it is very, very difficult bringing people. And you need to start thinking on how you bring people strategically, not reactively. And I honestly feel like it's difficult, but it's not as expensive as people think. Definitely, if you want to employ me, I'm sorry, but there are companies I talk to and I say you can't afford me. Like, definitely, but I look at my younger self and I look at what I achieved even at that level. and then I would take any salary, just to. So
Yeah.
there is a perspective thing that needs to go into hiring, and a business has to know the life cycle of their business, where they are, and the kind of people they need. In my experience, there are like three sets of people. You have the regular. God, it's a pandemic. It's a pandemic because these people are the people you say, stand up, hit your head on the wall, Monday to
No, they just want
Friday.
their salary. So
They don't
whatever they say they
care.
should do.
They start hitting the wall. Next night, I say, after you're hitting your head on the wall, start marching. Every Monday.
I don't care if it turns
Yeah,
revenue. As long as my Oga say I should do it,
yeah.
mark my salary.
You get,
Yes.
and they don't even know why you're doing it.
Yeah.
They just feel like, okay, when I do this, I get paid and all of those things. Now, in a startup phase, those people would not really help you get to the next level. They'll help you do your day-to-day. They'll help you with some of the ideas you have. But most of the time, founders have like, crazy, brilliant idea and all of those things. But you need people
You
that
actually
can
need
look at.
ambidextrous people when you're starting.
Exactly. So, and that's the mistake people make, which is what everybody does. Like, oh, I start something, I just need a few people I can tell what to do, then I tell them what to do and all of those things. But you bring those guys and you see that you struggle. Then 3-4 years down the line, you now say, I need to do another hiring sprint. I need to take people off. I need to change people. But it started from the fact that you thought you needed, the basic people and all of those things. So there's a lot of things to start considering. Even one of the key things I say is, what is your business model? Who are you selling to? Why did you start this business? Because of the fact that there is no barrier to entry in Nigeria. I see you selling a phone today. I'm looking at you. I don't really care. It's a new market. You start selling it, then because of how great the product is, you start to enjoy something called above normal profit. Because the market is so focused on you, it's not saturated and all of those things. But one thing that is happening is you're learning. Because you're like the newest, like the new, maybe complaint person, business in that thing, you're learning, but you have the ability to learn because even if you're not doing it so well, people are not totally leaving you because there's really no major competition and all of those things. Then I'm looking at you selling the phone. I don't know what is going on. I just know that, oh my God, you've sold the phone and this guy is selling phones, this guy is driving Benz. And I'm like, I need to enter this business.
I want to sell too.
I need to sell this thing too. And you go into it without any learning whatsoever. You don't understand the operation gimmicks the person has tried to.
We have that
combine.
pandemic in Nigeria actually.
So at the end of the day, everybody enters, saturates, nothing really happens. They get out. The guy that was still there is still there, still doing.
That was so packed. Like a lot of things. I hope people get as much as I got from that. Knowing the right kind of people to be able to even start with. I think the first thing is understanding what you're trying to build.
Exactly.
So it gives you an idea of, because I always say this thing, if you don't know what you're trying to build, you cannot really tell what you need.
True.
But the other downside to it is a lot of smaller business in Nigeria actually were born out of survival, which is not a bad thing in itself. But then you need to know when you need to move from that survival to because I always say it, survival and building something is not exactly the same.
Not the same,
Because when it comes to building, it's not every day that you'll be shining teeth. Some days will not be as rosy as the other day. But what will keep you going is the fact that you know that you're building something and you believe in the vision of what you're trying to build, and which is what I think a lot of people don't do. One of the last thing I talked about in the month of February was having a business vision. Because it tells you, of course, you might not be able to see what will happen in the next 10 years, but then between now and the next 5 years, what are you trying to do? What problem are you trying to? Of course, I'm not saying that you are not the president of Nigeria, so it's okay if you're not trying to, but at least what are you trying to solve for? Because it helps you to build that intentionality in your everyday thing. So that was really, really insightful. So, and also what you said about people, because it also tells the kind of person that you need, the point where you need someone to just take instruction and the point where you need people to take initiative. So you impact the kind of person that you're employing. It's not just enough to have talent, but it's important to have the right talent that you actually. So I wrote down a few questions here. Hopefully we can go through all, but even if we don't, but I'm hoping that we would talk about some of the important things. So I think my first question, and I'm going to take it because it impacts that other thing that we said,
Yeah.
that how does a lack of structure impact the profitability and business efficiency?
Okay. So it's kind of like straightforward. Once you don't have a structure, you're going to spend resources in things you don't need to be spending resources on. See, when I try to talk, I like to use practical
Yeah,
examples that
that's
people could use. One of the most common thing you would know in Lagos is the yellow bus.
yes.
Like everybody knows, the yellow bus and all of those things. But this yellow bus, there's actually a structure to it.
Really, they have
Something
structure.
they have structure.
Okay.
Now, let's start from what are they selling? They are selling, I'm going to take you from this point to this point.
Yeah.
Now, they're telling you that you could have other options that are going to take you from this point to this point. Yeah. But my own option is cheaper than all of these other options. But because my own option is cheaper, there's a possibility that if you're going for an interview, your clothes could turn purple before you get there.
Oh my
There's a
God.
possibility that you could get 3 or 4 slaps before you get to your final destination. But I'm selling what I'm selling. But it's left to you to get to do it. But do you know that there are a lot of things put in place? The driver starts early, he knows when to buy fuel, he knows when to collect money. He's not stopping in the middle of the road telling you that we can't go again because I didn't calculate well the money I took to buy fuel. He knows the area to pass in the afternoon. He knows where to run away from police. He knows when to be bullish on the road and all of those things. Those are like structures.
Wow, that's really, really amazing, because I've never thought about it like this. Because now that you say, you just explained it, like it actually makes sense, because you see some of these bosses, some of them will say, oh, I'm not going to Aja at this time. I don't know, early days in my career,
Yeah.
there's a particular work hour that you will hardly find the boss.
Yeah.
And that's because maybe there's traffic in a particular area,
Yeah.
and most of them are actually not working.
Yeah.
So it's not even that. Of course, some of them, and the ones that are working, are stuck in traffic.
Yeah.
And now that you said, it makes so much sense.
So they know
Wow.
they know what they're doing, and sometimes they'll tell you like, if we do this thing 5 p.m., I can charge 100% more. So let's go this time. Let's do it because this is going to be rush hour for people. We are going to station ourselves here, and we are going to get this done. Those are like structures, process they've put in place. But let me tell you one thing: the moment, for analytical sake, let's assume there's just one yellow bus in Lagos. The moment this one yellow bus in Lagos picks you today, stops halfway, doesn't get you to the office, does that tomorrow because the tire stopped working or something worked, what do? You lose
They are not
trust.
reliable.
Then what do? You move away. What has happened? The person has lost money, the person has lost trust, the person has lost customers because one thing they were supposed to prepare for did not happen. Imagine a situation where it started raining and this person did not have glass. This yellow bus did not have glass, did not have windows, did not have wipers, and because of that, it impacted what they could produce. That one thing they were selling to you. At that point, what has happened? You start looking for alternative because no matter what, you need to get to where you are going. So what happens there? They've lost all of those things. But guess what will happen? When you start to see raining season, you start to see some of these yellow buses using nylons. Why are they doing that? They're starting to put some process in place because they understand what is coming in.
Yeah.
I feel like those guys even understand efficiency than a lot of us. I tell some of my folks, if you want to learn efficiency, go to the yellow buses. Because guess what? When my car makes one tiny sound, I'm going to go to the mechanic and say, hey guys, I'm hearing this tiny thing, I'm going to spend money. Before you know, they'll say, okay, maybe change your tires, do all of those things, I spend money. Yellow bus would use that thing till the day that it is not going to, they know it's not going to work. Do you know what's happened? At the end of the day, they will still spend, the money they used to prepare, but they would have milked out all of the possible revenue they could do without spending a lot on cost management and all of those things, which is efficiency. When they see that it's rush hour, you would start to see that instead of 4 people, they'll start to tell you like, oh no, I'm going to put one extra person here, or I'm going to make it, 5 people sitting here. During rush hour also, like you would say that they would take advantage of the situation sometimes to even fit as much people as they can and all of those things. Sometimes they know this is rush hour, I can get a lot of people, they will not leave that bus stop till they get, the vehicle full and all of those things.
You're not there if you cannot wait.
Because they know you really don't have a choice and all of those things. So it's a typical low-cost business. Spirit Airlines, at some point, Chicken Republic, they were selling the basic minimum. No frills. You want to buy this thing, I'm going to sell it to you. But I'm not going to put anything extra. But I'm going to make it cheaper than anywhere else you'd get it. But don't come complaining if this is it. You know what you're bargaining for. If you want to do premium, go somewhere else. So to even build structure, you even really need to understand what business model
What
are
am
you
I building?
using?
What
What
am
are
I
you
even
building?
doing?
Because the key to that is if you don't know what you're building, you would pivot a lot. And pivoting would naturally, happen and all of those things. So when you don't have like the right structure, you start to lose efficiency because things you need to be faster to do, you're going to spend longer times doing it. Then you're going to create a bottleneck, which is going to prevent, how fast you can get something done. Let me use one example. So I was talking to, a tech company that was building something that had to do with installation. Now, the whole idea is one algorithm somewhere. But that algorithm has to work by installing it somewhere else. How do you build efficiency? How fast can you install? Because it doesn't matter all of the things you have in the algorithm. I have to see it work. And for me to see it work, you have to install it. So imagine it takes 60 days to install.
So it means I have to wait 2 months to be able to experience your solution.
Now, let's assume you even go through the pain to do it in 2 months. How would you do it 100 more times? 500 more times? We have to wait
So it means
60
scale is difficult without
efficiency, without structure. You have to know that you want to grow this thing big. Growing big and fast means you have to be fast doing it. And you have to be, and you see, this is now the tricky part. You have to be fast doing it with the same service and reliability.
the quality of delivery still has to
Exactly.
be on the same.
That's why there's something, one of the things I've looked at recently is how come Chicken Republic could build a chain of QSRs with over 100 stores in Nigeria. Places like Abuja, places like Kano, places like Ilorin. Nobody has tried that. Let's be very honest with ourselves. Nobody has the capillarity they have. Sometimes the number of Chicken Republic you're going to find in, the same place and all of those things. Then when you look at that kind of business, you're going to say something. One, there is a huge cost implication.
Yeah.
Because they are building things and all of those things. Then you start to ask yourself a question, how are they making this? And for the longest time, I think till February last year, they were relatively one of the cheapest place to buy a meal that has chicken. Do you understand? Then you ask yourself, how did they do that? How did they do that? And should I not tell you one funny thing? If you go to Chicken Republic, Abuja, you buy their jollof rice or you buy their chicken and their rice and beans. It's the same taste to tortoise in Lagos.
That thing, how they did it. And it's not even just like, it's the consistency across.
Now,
Like everywhere. My own is my favorite thing from there is coleslaw. And everywhere I go, I order it, it is always the
do you know one of the things they did was centralized operations? Everything you need to cook this thing is produced from one place. I don't need chef here to tell me how to cook this. They don't use the normal cooking standards, where someone cooks based on their intellect. I need to put 1 spoon of. They cook based on a manual.
Yeah.
And they cook based on one ingredient that comes from one place.
So that's the only way you can ensure consistency.
You've ensured consistency. There's comparative advantage. You've reduced costs. You've even maintained like customer retention, which a lot of people don't even know how to start quantifying, the numbers of all of those things. So building a structure, building efficiency helps you scale. It helps you determine that you are getting the most out of the money you want to get. Let's do a quick simulation. We are seated here in this place now, in this studio, having this meeting and all of those things. Imagine something. I create a business where people have to come inside this place and sit on chairs. Now,
Okay.
when everybody comes in, they have to sit on chair and all of those things. Now, imagine a situation where I had 10 chairs and 20 people came. Then I need 10 more people to stand up and leave for me to be able to charge the remaining 10. What have I done there? I've lost possible funds. Why? Because there was no proper plan in place to accommodate something. There was
Yeah.
no proper forecasting. Nobody was actually tracking what would happen and all of those things. Why do you think Nigeria delivery system, traffic system goes shitty on a day like Valentine? On a day like, because not everybody is really preparing for that spike on what they are going to see, on what they are going to receive, all of those things. At the end of the day, we just vibes and let's see what happens and all of those things. So if you don't build structure in place, and structure is knowing what you're trying to achieve, like you said, now predicting the ability to know what do I think would happen tomorrow. The difference between two businesses is someone that saw the future, know how to milk that future and get to it. If you look at Netflix, when Netflix started, I think Blockbuster, if I'm getting them right, I think they were the top guys. You go there, rent CD, plug your CD, watch. Netflix said, I'm going to build something where, people are going to just stream that thing. Blockbuster had the money to say, okay, next season is let's buy Netflix. I don't know what this would be, but I feel they're getting onto something here. Let me buy it and all of those things. But fuck you guys, like, nah, it's not gonna work. And Netflix came and killed them. Because people moved on to, people moved on to like that next generation of things. So structure is, and that's one key thing. Structure is not rigid.
Yeah.
Do you understand? Structure is not rigid. Structure is not, it's 9 to 5. You have to dress corporate. If you don't dress corporate,
You have to be open to accommodate the change that would come in as you work towards what the vision is. I think one of the biggest problems is that not understanding the sense of what you're trying to build actually.
Yeah.
Because that's when, if you see something that is different from what you think the ideal is, you can't pin it into what you know that is in existence, and you just get carried away by what this is, what is it, and all of that. And just like, if you are not wearing suit and tie and you are doing it, I think the fintech has actually said this to us actually, because the banking used to be, it has to be done this way, inside one big office that has, okay, we have all the aces chilling your money, right? And all of that. Then fintech came and just said, you don't even need an office to be able to.
Well, guess what happened? A lot of banks didn't really adopt it first. They started fighting all over. But later, guess what is happening? A lot of them are now developing their own fintechs.
Yeah.
Because they've seen like, okay, this is like the future of things. So structure is very important, but most importantly, like we've mentioned a lot, and this is for anybody that is going to watch this. See, is the most important thing is knowing what you're building.
What you're building.
Like the end result, it might not be what you're building per se, but the end result of what you want that thing to achieve. Trust me, if you want survival, maybe it's not a bad thing. Do you understand? Maybe you just want to be doing your thing to get 1 or 2 money to survive, all of those things. You can keep doing that. My advice is just watch out for your cost and revenue, because one day you think you have money that you don't have, and you just close the business and all of those things. But if you're looking at building something that makes a statement, something that goes beyond, you have to know that thing you're trying to achieve. And there would be a lot of opportunities to pivot. Glovo pivoted. Glovo knew they wanted to build something where people could order and deliver, but they didn't know that they're going to, the first iteration did not come with restaurants in it. It came with, you want to buy from that restaurant, don't worry, tell me the address, I'll send someone to pick and you get all of those things. But when they started to see how people could adopt the product, that is another thing I try to tell, like, tech founders. Build your product, but at the end of the day, the users will most likely tell you what they would use from that product. And from there, you can now start to understand what you need to do and all of those things. If you keep having like rigidity, you will just end up, collapsing, what you're trying to build. So structure is very important. But again, one thing I don't like to do is try to downplay how expensive it is to build structure.
It is expensive.
Because anybody watching will feel like, okay, they said Structure is important. Let me go and build structure.
Yeah.
And they find out that, okay, this is,
But I think the thing is, while structure is important, I think you can still start from somewhere.
yeah,
You can still start from somewhere and still, even your usual processes that, like, I engage with
yeah,
SMEs, and sometimes you're trying to get what is the end-to-end process of your service delivery. And somewhere everything is just locked up in the CEO's
yeah,
head, such that which automatically means that if the CEO is not available, the chances that an excellent delivery will be done is actually like
yeah.
50%.
That's why one key thing I say a lot is one source of truth. You see, when we're talking about the element of structures, we've mentioned how it's important to have the right people. We've mentioned how it's important to have the right model. But you see, the next third thing I like to call the most important is something I like to call a trackable plan. You see, every single structure you are building is built on a trackable plan. And it's very simple, but it involves some sort of reverse engineering. Now, I want to start selling maybe bridal wears, all of those things. I want to start selling cakes or something like that. The first thing is, okay, this is what I want to do. Why do I want to do it? Maybe survival. Maybe it's to just make people happy. Maybe I'm so good at making great cakes that I feel like I could, you know, let the world see what I can do with all of these things. That is the plan. Then the next thing is, Bola, you ask yourself, how many cakes do I want to sell in the next 3 months? You get a lot of people vibes it. They just say, I can do cake, then we start doing it. But you need to ask yourself, how many cakes at the end of this year must I have sold? Then you start with a rough number. I want to sell 1 million cakes this year. You see, this small thing starts to help you build structure and process. Because when you know you want to sell 1 million cake, you start to understand that then for us to sell 1 million cakes,
What do I need to do?
what do I need to do? It means we need to be able to bake faster. It means we need to be able to deliver faster. It means we need to create a system where when an order comes in, maybe in the next 1 day max, we've made it, we've delivered it. I think if you look at this complaint, I've forgotten this cake complaint, fastest cake. Brilliant. And what are they doing? You want fast cake? No worries, but it's going to come at bless you.
Thank you.
It's going to come at some expense and all of those things. One of the key things you're going to see with fastest cakes, there's very minimal customization.
Yeah.
Because if I give people the opportunity to tell me that I want you to build their own plane on it.
Sorry, guys. I think I need what when you were answering the last question, you said that structure is expensive.
Yeah.
And I agree with you.
Yeah.
But I also mentioned that there's a place where they can start.
Yeah.
So at what point do you think a business should start implementing and putting some structure in place? Given that by a business now, I'm talking about yes, the big ones, and also putting in consideration the startups, SMEs, and the likes. At what point do we start considering? Because especially keeping that, especially for startup, knowing that some of these businesses started from either survival, leisure for the business owner, or something. Now it is becoming serious. Should the business owner still be the one like, oh, I'm still the archive of all the business? Of course, it's your business anyways. So at what point should you start implementing the necessary structures and putting some things in place, even if it's not the highest level?
So I think one common mistake here is a lot of people feel like I'm starting my business today, I need to put structure in today. No. Again, this is my opinion. You're starting your business today, you need to know what you want to do. You need to test the waters to understand the fact that you could take this. Imagine someone quits their job to become a bus driver, just using the yellow bus, experience. Because one thing we've not spoken about is how much these guys rack. It's crazy money that people don't talk about. So because you hear that, oh my God, these people earn this much, and I'm just here earning what 50,000 salary, spending 70,000. Do you get like I'm going to go get a bus, I'm going to start this business and all of those things. Imagine you quit to start, and Agberos, like, all these hooligans slapped you the first day, and you felt like, oh my
Think
God, I
about
can't
this is
take,
my life. I can't
like, I
take
can't
this.
take this, and you've done all of those. Imagine you set the fact that this is the finance I need. You bought the bus, you've invested this, then you discover that, okay, this is not what I thought I was going to expect. So the first thing you need to do is understand what you want to do, test the waters. That's why you cannot pilot enough. Like, I know this is me moving away a bit, but even in creating new verticals, all of those things, going to new places, you start with small, like, pilot. So
Yeah, you have to start small.
so in terms of structure, you need to start from, can I do this thing? The problems that the people that face do this thing, can I survive? Do you know one of the reasons why I feel like a lot of this business collapse is because they never went through a proper training system at the end of the day. That's why I like, the Igbo culture, the internship system, all of those, the apprenticeship, system, all of those training to help you understand the problem you would face and
The
all of those,
rigor.
the rigor of it.
Built in you.
That's what will now start to let you understand that, okay, I cannot do mechanic work because of this,
Yeah.
or I cannot create a product where, how will I be surviving diesel change, up and down prices? How would I maintain all of those things and the likes? In my last two major roles, one thing that helped me, this is a trick, is most of the time, for some reason, I've always gotten the first role of building something from the ground up, like starting from like the ground zero. And one thing that has helped me all of the time is, okay, you want me to build this thing from ground up, ensure the operations are going well. First thing I want to do is, where is your most chaotic place today that you're operating at, that you're doing this thing? I want to spend the next 2 months here. I want to understand what's going on there. I want to learn. I want to see some things. I want to be able to do that. Guess what? Spending 2 months there, when I go into the real thing, I've cracked some things faster.
So starting from the chaos point.
Yeah, because then I've already seen, okay, this is why this thing is not working. This is why there's problem here. So when you want to start, you need to first say, who is doing this thing? Okay, is this an untouched terrain? Who has done something untouched before? Learn. Sometimes learning is not like you fix one-on-one meeting. Sometimes just listening to what these people are saying, reading between the lines would help you understand that thing. When you now understand it and you've now captured all of it and decided that, okay, with all of these things, I still want to do this thing, you now start to put structures in place. It starts from what we said. What do you want to achieve in the next 1 year doing this thing? In the next 1 year might just be, I want to be able to say I have 100 recurrent customers monthly buying this thing. It might be, I want 100 recurrent customers buying every single month in the next 1 year. It might even be, you can further say, I want 100 recurrent customers purchasing minimum of 100,000 worth of goods or spending 100,000 worth in terms of service in the next 1 year. Now, once you've started to understand what you want to achieve on a timely basis, you now start to build the structures in place to help you achieve those things. It's one of the reasons why I said structure can't be rigid. Because tomorrow it might be that you want to start getting 1 million recurrent customers. That might mean that maybe you need to start working on smaller spaces, expanded on a large sparse of population dense area and all of those things. So imagine you're saying infrastructure. Imagine you're now saying, no, what we said we're going to sell was that we would only have walking customers. So if we don't have a physical space, that is not our brand, that is not, all of those things, then you would now keep forcing that. One of the key things you would see, it trended a while, was Chicken Republic started to move to Asun. And it was crazy because over the years, one of the key things they've pushed a lot is our brand is chicken.
Yeah.
Like, our structure is built.
Even added egg.
You understand? So all of the times they would work on building a structure in procurement. I think at time they even tried to own a poultry, all of those things. It was not easy, especially towards the end of the year. They used to have a lot of chicken crisis. Now, guess what? When they had chicken crisis, they closed down stores.
Whoa.
Which was missed sales because that structure it had to be. But I'm pretty much sure someone came and said, we can't be losing sales. We can't be losing sales due to rigidity. We need to create a flexible option where people can decide, let them decide. Let's throw it to them to make those decisions. And guess what? Even if they don't make all of the sales they would have made, they still do all of those things. So structure is built when first you understand what you want to do. Two, you now understand what you want to do in collaboration with what you are getting into. Then you now start to understand the time it goes and you start to build it. So it might be that once a week we need to meet to understand all of these things. Now, to meet and understand all of these things in a way where your team are not yapping and just saying bullshit, there might be one source of truth. There might be a way you track things. Let me tell you something. You might not even be able to build maybe a database that connects to a graphical system. It might just be someone going somewhere to write, today we made 10 sales. Today, 10 new customers came. Today, we did this thing. But you started with reporting that thing. It's definitely going to grow to, okay, how can we report these things faster? We don't need someone to be writing it. Now, how could we bring automation to a system in? But it starts with, we even did it in the smallest phase possible. Okay, we want to have a meeting. Maybe you could not even, well, Google Meet is very easy now, just set up something. But maybe you could not even own Slack. It could be a Telegram page. It can be something where everybody knows this is what we do here and all of those things. And it also makes sense to add this, that in your structure, the culture you are trying to sell is important. Because your culture is very important in selling your business to people that would come and work with you at the end of the day. Some people feel like, well, don't let us do anything cultural till when we are big, all of those things. But at that point, you might have created a system where employees, people coming into your business, don't believe and all of those things. So structure, again, for everybody watching, it starts from when you know what you want to really do. This is not, we're playing. This is not, you've moved from a position of, we just want to play, we just want to try, we're just trying to survive, to, I think this can work. I think we could really make something big out of this. I think I can invest the time needed to get this done. To a point where you've now also tested and see that, okay, all of these things are playing, maybe economic crisis, all of those things. I think if I do one or two things, I could still navigate this. You've added both together. You've decided what you would achieve timely, because one issue we had, in school, back in the days was, you ask people, what do you want from life? They'll tell you, I want to travel to 30 countries. I want to buy an expensive car and all of those things. I want to live in Banana Island, which is very good, valid dreams. But the big question you now ask, the next follow-up question I used to ask is, how do you want to get there? Now, that's what everybody now don't know. Then you start to hear, oh, God will help me. Yes, God would help all of us, but you need to have like a plan. So your business, what do you want to achieve? I want to achieve 50% market share. That means if 100 people are buying this product, you want 50 of them to come to your brand to buy it. Then the next question is, how do you want to get there? Where do you start from? Next month, how do you track that you're in the right direction?
So you now start putting all those things
because
together.
I would never advise that from the beginning. You think, let's put this here, let's put it there. Because at the end of the day, there might be things that you would not need. There was a time, COVID era, and I'll tell you one funny story of why a lot of like food company, a lot of like Zoom, things that help people, then their stock went crazily high. Because during COVID era, people saw like, the need to get all of these things done and all of those things, because there was an appetite. People
sorry to cut you. So this thing that you're trying to say, I think it speaks to not over complicating the process. So it should be built on need base, not just that you are just seated and you are just saying, oh, we want technology, we want this, we want this. So you should project what is the vision and what do we need to get to, in simple and plain
It is
terms.
simple. The biggest advice I got when I entered logistics tech operations was from my line manager then. His name is Juan, Spanish, one of the most brilliant people I've worked with. And he said something which was always the opposite of what I used to hear. And I sat down and thought about it, and it made sense to me. He said, the moment your solution is complicated, you don't have a solution. So he said, once you want to solve anything, your solution has to be simple. And to me, I felt, Operation is supposed to we need to figure out how to
Yeah.
bring 1 million people to get one thing done and all of those things and the likes. And what you just told me was your solution has to be simple. The moment it's simple, you have solved it. Now, what he was literally telling me is, see, you would go through complicated steps to find the simple solution. But at the end of the day, it has to be simple. So there are a lot of things that some companies don't need. They're investing in because maybe it's a cultural thing at the moment.
Ideal.
Yeah. Some companies don't need to do influencer marketing now. It's a bloody waste of your time.
And
It's
money.
a bloody waste of your money. And these
Talk
things are
about it.
expensive.
Money.
Do you get? And at the end of the day, but you're doing it because everybody is thinking that, oh, you put your product top of mind and all of those things. Human beings' mind, it's very fickle. Today, and that's where you see how social media is powerful. This week, this is what someone is talking about. Next week is something else. If you've not built structure, like in structure, that has strong reliability, that has strong performance, and you go out there, you're literally going to kill yourself. Because a lot of things will happen when you put yourself out there. It might be a competition that has more money than you. And seeing that this person is making wave and like, let's combo this business. I can do cost battle. I can reduce my own price by 70%. How would you cope with that? But if you've built a solid system in place before, going out, before investing in this, before bringing this in, you start to know it. And that's why it starts from a pipeline of goals. This month, we need to hit 100 with 850. Why are we not hitting the remaining 50? Our channel is not working. Why is the channel not working? Because the world has moved away from this. Maybe we need to do a bit of PM, performance marketing. Do you understand? Then you now start to bring those things into place and, get them, to work at the end of the day.
This has been really good and amazing, actually. I'm trying to pen my thoughts down. Some of the things I've picked from here, so I don't lose I don't lose them. There was one particular thing you said, it's been on my mind, but now I can't remember what it is. So that's why I'm writing others down. And I'm just going to do like a quick recap of some of the things that we've discussed in this episode. Um, so let me take you from the back. So from what you just said, so to build the right structure, you have to ask the right questions.
Yeah.
So you need to be able to also be flexible. Structure is flexible. Now I remember what it is. Let me write it down so I don't forget it again. So some of the most remarkable things you've said in this session today is you need to have a sense of vision.
Yeah.
If what you're building is not clear, building the right structure becomes more difficult. And you also mentioned that structure is flexible.
Yeah.
You have to be able to you have to make room for iterations. It's okay if we have what it takes to achieve this now, and we have room to build for more as the vision increases.
Exactly.
So you have to have like a bigger vision, then break it down into milestones that you and ask the right question by saying that, what do we need to do to achieve? So I'll use the 3 P's of optimization. So it's like, what people requirement do we need to be able to achieve this? What process requirement do we need to achieve this? And what product requirement does it mean that we need to, just like what you said, we do strictly work in stores, but now because we have increased what our target is, should we go e-commerce in addition to what we have at? So based off of that, putting the right structure to take the strength of your vision as the business continues to grow. So you said a lot of remarkable things. I remember when you were talking about, you use fastest cakes as example, because their vision is clear. They know what they want to build. They know that they cannot allow for so much customization in their processes, so that it allows them to be able to get repetitive, what's it called, the same exact same result in the same thing. And one of the most important things that you also said is that in putting the right structure, you need to test the waters. You can't just wake up and just say, this is what we're trying to build, and you just continue at
put all your resources.
That is, it's not the best way. You start small, you test the water. Maybe there's a 6-month period, and in tech they do a pilot run. Then you do a quick pilot run and see that this thing is what's it called, commercially viable
Yeah.
and it's something that I really want to do,
Yeah.
then at that point you now start thinking through
Yeah.
what are the things that we want to achieve and how do we achieve that. I think this has been really remarkable for me, and I want to believe that the people watching are able to pick one or two things. Let me recap again some of the amazing things. Don't jump the water, start small, test the waters, see how it works, then set milestones based on your bigger vision that you've set,
Yeah.
and based on those milestones, ask yourself the right questions. What do we need to do to be able to achieve this?
Yeah.
So it will take you back to three things: people, process, product. And of course, part of product also brings in tech, automations,
Yeah.
the things that you can
Yeah.
automate. You don't have to go for the most expensive ones. They are
Exactly.
simple. Now, in this AI generation, there are simple software solutions here and there
Yeah.
that you can bring together and then you can use to. I honestly believe strongly that scale is impossible without the right structure.
Mm-hmm.
And there was an article that Economics released some times ago. I think it was January,
Yeah.
where they talked about Africa has too much. Is it Africa now or Nigeria has too much business with very little business? So it means that we have a lot of business,
Yeah.
but in the economic value that these businesses are
Exactly.
generating
Yeah.
is not
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
really not adding up. So it
Yeah.
means that we need to step up. The SMEs, they can do better. And in all honesty, yeah, while I understand that everybody is striving and all of that, but my chat to you will be, you see all those big businesses that you're seeing today, they once started as a startup. You
Exactly.
will be surprised. You
Exactly.
can read their stories, read book, watch documentaries. You will be shocked that they all went through some of the challenges that you're going through right now, and it is possible for you to actually build bigger. So I hope that we've been able to help you in one way or the other, and you have one or so. Before we go, Sean,
Mm.
I want you to give like one, two, three advice to entrepreneurs out there. Currently, there's a lot going on in the country. The economy is not even smiling at entrepreneurs, they are going through it.
Mm.
So one, two word of encouragement. It can also be a business advice, anything, just
Yeah. Two things I'm going to say. There's one word I say a lot. Um, I think it has become something I should go and copyright or patent or something, and that's like my first advice, which is there's no way you can be creative more than your imagination. It can be done. You can be creative more than what you imagine. Every big businesses have gone through tough times at one point or another. And I strongly believe that the best solutions are crafted under pressure. Someone would decide that now it's too expensive for me to use a motorbike to do a delivery, and a lot of these deliveries are hyperlocal. Let me move to bicycles. It's cheaper. Why? Because fuel price went up. Someone thought I need to pivot and all of those things. So when everything is fine, you don't really know. But when the big difference happens is under pressure. So what I like to say is when pressure comes, see it as a good thing. See it as
so
a point.
pressure bets
It
innovation.
bets innovation. See it as a point to be creative in solving it. Because you see that service you're offering or that product you're selling, at the end of the day, guess what? People still need it. People would still pay. What you need to do is manage a way, even imagine a bridal person and all of those things. Someone started to use one sort of material and everybody is
Start
using
it.
because that was something someone built. Imagine out of pressure, someone develops something that is cheaper, finer, and people start to adopt better.
Yeah.
We've seen a lot of things change. Sometimes a lot of companies say, oh, we are doing, work from home policies, but sometimes because they are saving costs because you guys are going to the office to burn diesel.
True, very
and,
true.
and all of
Fuel
those
is
things,
nobody's
and all
mate
of those
right
things. If you
now.
look at people's P&L and you see the amount it costs to run
Running
an office system and all of those things. Now, 10, 15 years ago, if you tell people in Nigeria that you work from home, if your parents even see you working from home, they
You're
would
not
think
serious.
that
You don't even have a
you're
job.
not serious. So pressure would always bet innovation and how you go about it. So don't ever see pressure as a point of, oh, I need to close down this business and all of those things. See it as a point to learn something new, learn how to go about it, and learn how to be better. One key thing that has helped me in my career path is I get to a position and I see people around me, top people, and I'm like, how do I compete? This guy, they know what they're saying. These guys are brilliant. These guys know this. Guess what I do? I go and learn. In those periods is when I go to learn more, acquire more. I get to a point that I now see those people and I'll be like, oh, I think I'm smarter than this person now. Do you get, and all of those things?
Yeah.
But if I was always in my comfort zone, I would feel, oh, I was great, I was doing well, and all of those things. Then the next important advice is two things: commitment and consistency.
Commitment and consistency.
Commitment is what would help you start. Commitment is what will say, I need to start this business, I need to build. Like you might be watching this video today and you have absolutely no process, absolutely no structure. If others come in to your service, to your product, it's vibes, you don't know how much you're making, but one thing that is helping you is because there's a real run flow of money. So anytime you dip your hand, there's something
There's
to
something
cover.
yeah.
But now you're looking at it and you're thinking, how do I even start all of these things? It starts from commitment, like committing to the fact that this is what I want to achieve. But guess what? What would help you? Because people are naturally tuned to, we do this for 2-3 months, we go back to our ways. What bets greatness is consistency. Whatever it is you're doing, it doesn't matter how small you are, you do consistent. There's a book I'm releasing around June, and there's somebody's career.
Guys, let me just put you on that book. You need to get it.
Yeah, and there's someone's career I want to highlight in that book. This person started an entrepreneurship business at a very young age. I'm thinking maybe 17. Started selling something. And it was born out of pressure, poverty, problem, and all of those things. But this boy did not have any idea of what the business entails, all of those things. But he learned, which is the first very important thing. He started small, pilot. Then as he moved, he discovered the structures he needed to build: online presence, in-store in the state you are operating, creating a face of the brand, doing all of those things. But guess what? Years down the line, consistency has moved him from that point where he was trying to survive to where he is now. Most times I enter the store to buy from what he's selling, not because I need it, but because I'm so happy about the journey, like
how much progress
how much progress has been made. But if you ask this guy what helped you from point A to point B, it was that consistency. There were times when the economy was not looking good, all of those things. And even from the Bible time till now, there's always been a time that things were hard. There was famine during Abraham's time, there was famine during Isaac's time, and all of those things. There's always tough times, but that doesn't mean that you can't achieve during tough times. In fact, I'm of the school of thoughts that the best time to go for it is the tough time. So, people watching, go for it. That's just my advice.
You read it all from Shio. I think it has been like an amazing time. So much insight. My book is full. I hope you got one or two things from this. See you in my next video. Bye.
Thank you.